there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the Pubg Mobile Campus Championship Finals Day 2. And we have got just three more rounds of action, mayhem, and strategy coming your way today. But first and foremost, per the usual, for those of you who aren't quite acquainted as to who we are, I'm Red Eyes, your ever-lovable and adorably cuddly caster, bringing you that daily dosage of butt kickery, tomfoolery, and all-around shenaniganism. And I am not alone. I'm joined by my main man, DKZA. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? My name's DK, all the way from South Africa, and of course we're getting ready to see what our teams are going to be doing as we move into our very last day of grand finals. Yesterday was quite a surprising performance coming through by Clips by Chicks, or Clips Before Chicks, whoever it is Clips and Chicks are in the name. And I mean, they brought out quite a substantial performance, ending off the day on 90 points. I mean, 49 points ahead of the competition.
Yeah, yesterday we saw a serious outlier, something that you don't see very often in the Pubg Mobile esports scene, and that is just breaking past that 3,000 point barrier and that 20-point kill mark. It's pretty high numbers, and it's pretty tough to refute the skill there. But guys, just so we are clear, this is the Pubg Mobile Campus Championship that brings together the best college teams from the US and Canada. Now, these teams competed through some very intense qualifying rounds and extremely competitive semifinals just to get here for their shot at the $8,000 prize pool.
Yeah, and of course, we have a very healthy spread with regards to how much money rather our respective winning teams are going to be walking away with. So there is quite a bit up for grabs, but I think the main thing that we are going to be looking at today is, and we're of course going to be taking a look at those points in a little bit, but I'm curious to see what the rest of the lobby's response is going to be to that performance we had come through yesterday. So I'm expecting a little bit of a potential disruption coming in, because several teams that are really close to potentially bringing in that needed upset. I mean, we've got Care Bears and Third Eye as well as Seren, right? They are right up there with regards to what their current points are. So I want to see that extra effort being brought through, and potentially maybe a little bit of focus being put on Clips by Chicks today from the other teams.
Absolutely, I gotta agree with you there, and that's what I love about this event, is that even though we might have a clear front runner as it currently stands, guys, there are 6 paid out ranks today. So the top 6 get paid, and pretty handsomely as well. I believe the last final, yeah, here we go. $2,300 for first, $1,800 for second, $1,500 for third, $900 for fourth, $800 for fifth, and $700 for sixth. That is no small change at all, DK. There's a lot of money on the line here.
Yeah, and it's going to result in a potentially quite a hairy day, right? And that's what we want to have, because I mean, like, this distribution is definitely not something to shy away from, right? That could still make quite a sufficient impact, regardless who is the team that walks away with it at the end of the day.
Yeah, and we spoke about this yesterday, but Clips Before Chicks, or Clips by Chicks, we do have it written down both ways here. However, they performed yesterday, it could be a little bit dangerous, that their momentum could border on, cockiness potentially, but with that much slack in the water, it is going to be a serious uphill hurdle for every other participant on this playing board. So as we said yesterday, what would it take to really knock Clips by Chicks off this pedestal, knock that crown, the king of the hill, knock them off of it? What would it take? And I personally think that it might honestly be just a unanimous decision from the participants that says, hey guys, someone has got to step up and try to knock these guys out early on before they can acquire that placement, before they can acquire those kills.
Yeah, I mean, as you said yesterday, right? There's no surprise as to where these teams drop, right? They make it pretty evident where they go. They leave that invitation out there, is if you want to come challenge us, you wait to find us, right? Step up to the plate, show us what you've got, and who knows, maybe you could claim this position for yourself. So I'm wanting to see the teams today accept that invitation, step up, and look to go challenge them.
And if there ever were a reason, with literally, I believe Clips Before Chicks literally double second place's points. So yeah, there is literally so much slack in the water that it almost seems to be the only possibility of really reaching past them. However, having said that, they have got, the Clips Before Chicks crew has got to be very confident at this point. And we spoke about this yesterday, and we've seen it time and time again, where confidence can border on cockiness, and that can honestly be a team's undoing. Regardless of what tier you are at play-wise, it can absolutely throw you off your momentum. So they are going to have to be sure not to get too far ahead of themselves. And I think that they're going to be pretty solid in that regard, considering the way that they played for the first match yesterday in comparison to rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that the lineup that we have coming through in the team there for Clips by Chicks is necessarily a team that is going to have the position kind of get to their head, right? They're just going to go out there and just bring in the phenomenal performance that we know that they can bring. But in the same breath, we want to see that upset, right? We want to see the other teams stepping out, looking to challenge them. And even if that requires 2, maybe 3 teams to just come rushing on through, I'm not going to say no to that, right? It would be such an interesting altercation to happen.
Yeah, I would love to get that early on, first 5-minute confrontation where maybe just a 2-on-1 against the Clips Before Chicks, just knock them out early on. But you know what, guys? Even if you can't catch up to them, even if that doesn't happen, this is still going to be a very intense competition. And guys, we got 3 rounds as we spoke about. We're going to start things off with Erangel, move into the wide open desert of Miramar, and then close things off for the day with that lush condensed forest of Sandhawk. So as we begin to get into this first round, Erangel, the very first map ever introduced to the PUBG mobile scene, what can we say about it? And DK knows my spiel. It's basically the off-bred love child of Sandhawk and Miramar because it really is the middle ground between those 2 extremes, which is going to absolutely leave it fairly reliant upon the flight path to determine what sort of early game we end up getting, DK.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that one. And of course, now to speak about, that early flight path and that potential disruption, right? This is now our standings coming through into this very last day. As we've mentioned before, Clips by Chicks sitting on 90 total points, very well ahead of where the Care Bears are. But as you can see, right, that 2nd to 5th place still very much contentious. There could easily be quite a bit of change coming through. I'd even allowed all the way down to that 8th place, as those points are not too greatly separated. But as we've also mentioned, we want to see those upsets, right? I mean, I think that would make for an absolutely beautiful bounce back story.
Yeah, and when you look at teams like Seren and Road to Death, or Forsaken Gaming and the Hit List and Dauntless, just all tied at that exact same point marker, you know that the competition is going to get fierce between them. That is absolutely going to add that additional pressure that these teams are going to absolutely need to thrive off of if they're going to want a shot at claiming some of that money.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hairy, but we aren't expecting anything less, right? We want to see these teams really grinding their butts off to secure those positions. And of course, we are going to be waiting all too long to see exactly where our teams are going to be moving towards, right? We're getting ready to hop straight on through. That flight path is going to be starting over towards the Nova crates on that southeastern side. Of course, heading straight on over to the northwest. So a very much centralized flight path for this very first game.
Yeah, I don't think you could ask for too much more of an ideal flight path for our first match. This is going to leave nothing but options to our participants. Plenty of compounds to choose from. Now, that could mean a couple things for us, DK, but what it could very likely mean is a bit more of a slower start to our beginning of the match. And that will be completely okay, guys, because as we've seen, there are spreads. They happen on the larger maps, and larger maps are 2 of the 3 maps we're working with today. But as we always say, a more passive early game means one thing, DK, a more action-packed and climactic mid or end game.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking about climactic, right? Ace of Spades starting off the very first match with only 2 players. Only a 2-piece.
That's a bold move, Cotton. We'll see how it plays off. That is going to absolutely need to change up their strategy right off the get-go. They're going to need to hold back and play quite a bit more reserved and try to acquire some of that placement.
Yeah, so I think that is going to be applying quite a bit of pressure, but we can see Nemesis and the rest of the team now. Well, it's Nemesis and Blinky up towards that northern side now, maybe trying to push towards shooting range. But I think this is quite the satisfactory zone coming in, right? It's not too disruptive. Quite a few of the teams already possessing a decent angle and great options with regards to where they can look to get themselves situated.
Yeah, and we might even be due for some early confrontation. I am noticing that members of Forsaken Gaming are jumping eastbound alongside the crew in Skills of Mind, so we might have something there. Also, I can see in the North George area, members of Dauntless not too far above the Care Bears. Also moving down south, it looks like we got Puppeteer landing alongside the hit list, so we might actually end up getting some of that early action we were hoping for.
Yeah, and there's going to be quite a bit of pressure coming through onto, especially the Care Bears, right? As we know, only 49 points to go. We want to see where exactly it is they'll be able to reach to. Rather, I mean, English failing me a little bit here today, but either which way, we are jumping straight over towards that multi-power position. Forsaken and the players here now from the side of Skills of Mind, right? Great setup coming through, but already the action coming in the feed.
Yeah, brother, I don't know if you saw it or not, but Knights Coops has already been eliminated from the Clips Before Chicks area team. And what is interestingly enough about that is that they dropped Rozhawk. Rozhawk is not where you would expect them to go at all. I was almost positive that I could gamble on them landing the Pachinki area based on everything that we've seen from them so far. They love to drop that hot area. So they're really trying to keep these participants on their toes. They went Rozhawk. However, they were met with early confrontation and it ended up losing Coops. Coops as absolutely one of those team's front runners. And this could cost them pretty dearly.
Yeah, but I mean, now comes the responsibility of the remaining players, right, to kind of piece this whole strategy back together. And of course, as we look back over on towards that multi-power position, it is going to be Skills of Mind now running into an absolute brick wall. Bomba, the final hopeful, is going to be hunkering down behind a little bit of the rock coverage here. We can see Scrims and Black also now just trying to lock it down. But I'm loving this off-angle position coming through there from Lucky. Of course, they went out to grab the vehicle, now looking to rejoin. But that opens up the opportunity for them onto Skills of Mind.
Yeah, and Skills of Mind Bomba being the last remaining hope here for his team, I completely agree with his decision here to try to dip on out of Dodge, get away from these guys, and try to get to a position of cover where he can maybe lay low.
Yeah, and that's going to be quite important, right? You don't want to get caught out in the open. You don't want to get sent away unnecessarily. And, I mean, there's going to be some pressure, but still quite a bit of a position to play towards that western side. I mean, looking at that coastal line, it is pretty open for the taking. And, of course, we can see that now coming through onto the map as well. So I'm curious to see what's going to come through from Road to Death. They have an absolute breeze when it comes to that first initial rotations, should they decide to move a little bit closer to the main island.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But you know who doesn't have a breeze position is going to be the crew in Dauntless, as well as the Strangers BD boys in the North George region. They're going to have to work their way into zone southbound wise. But to do so, they might have to work their way past the Care Bears or even potentially by the Clips Before Chicks crew, Dark Esports. They even are facing up against the likes of Gods Reborn. They have a lot of teams standing in between the way of them and their rotation into zone.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a pretty tough one. I think the more ideal approach here would be to take that kind of central bridge right there next to Cube, trying to sneak across that way and maybe wrap your way around Everest to that more centralized territory. I think that would be a good approach, but they don't have the information that we have, right? So they don't know this. Maybe they could pull off an exact rotation like that, or we could see them, as you've mentioned, rotate straight forward into the Care Bears, or potentially even going to the Clips by Chicks. But speaking about rotations, right? Skills of Mind, Bomba, going to be braving it out there with a little bit of with a bicycle action out on the beach. You know, you might as well enjoy it, have a bit of a stroll, seeing that you're the only player left for your team.
Yeah, he just lost all his team, and he just wants to take one of those sunset-ridden beach rides to ponder life, I guess. It is a risky move to be rotating with the bicycle, but it does come with some advantages, I suppose. The fact that he's using the bicycle means that he might not be heard as far in advance from another team. But getting our eyes on the Clips Before Chicks crew, we see 24K ready and waiting with that suppressed Bison, and it does look like he's got a member of Dark Esports just one floor above him.
Yeah, but I mean, the Bison is quite a devastating weapon, and this is now 24K. Oh, so close to the opportunity. Here we have it. It is going to be the rush, and 24K will fall as Noob levels up and just punches it in. Up comes Fear now, trying to bring in a bit of that retaliation. Gets the beautiful revenge play, but they're not out of the woods just yet. We still have Neo off in the distance.
Yeah, Neo holding position out there for Dark Esports, but you got to give credit to Fears coming in with that UMP 45 and just closing the deal. But now, as you can see, it's down to Fears and Judges alone. So we might have actually had a good, pretty fair prediction about what could have happened here in round one. It does seem like teams are, whether or not they are planning to go for that aggression move against the Clips Before Chicks crew, or whether or not it just coincidentally happened, it is putting them at an immediate handicap. So they are going to absolutely have to play things a little bit more reserved. But however, having said that, let's not forget the way Clips Before Chicks behaved in the semifinals. They absolutely dominated. They even won their very first match as a three-piece. So seeing them down to Fears and Judges, I still don't think we are ready to rule them out just yet.
Yeah, I think it ain't going to be over until it's over, right? You have to wait for that final hit to come through. So there is a little bit of pressure now coming through on towards Dark Esports to see whether or not they can actually line up these hits now. And I'm loving this position being held here by Amrit, right? Just having a good vantage point down into that pool. And Fears and Judges, right? That could potentially spell the end for them should these nades connect.
Yeah, and for a minute there, it almost looked like Amrit's nade was going to land on top of Judges, but it looks like it might have gone just a bit too far into the pool. So all for naught. Amrit, you can see, trying to utilize that punch glitch to mute his footsteps, try to get a little closer, maybe a overview position on the Fears and Judges crew, but so far, no luck there.
It's a tough position. I mean, I'm loving what Clips by Chicks are doing, right? Just trying to just still stay rather well hidden. It is going to be Fears now, just making quite a bit of noise. And I'm loving the fact that Judges, right, is just waiting patiently for something to happen. But here we go, jumping straight over to Bomba on Cyclist now, just cycling through with a few of those eliminations. And again, Dark Esports still continuing with the efforts. They can actually afford to try and apply a little bit of pressure here.
Ooh, and the caster curse is all too real, my friend, as Fears just makes it rain hellfire with that nade, doing some significant damage and getting a knock on Amrit. That's going to leave Guru in quite a predicament here, as he's got very little time to revive his teammate, and all the while, you know, Clips Before Chicks is going to be pushing.
Yeah, and of course, Neo just creeping ever closer with that ban in hand, just trying to meet those footsteps, but Fears already knows exactly right where they're at. The shot that comes through as Neo tries to move on in. You're going to have that AK action. But will Fears be able to maybe just defend this angle? No, it is going to be Neo to get taken down, and all now turns to Guru to bring in that finishing hit.
Honestly, I was honestly very impressed with Neo's performance there at first. You know, just the jump shots over the wall. He was really going for it without affording too much, I should say, without putting himself out there too much to be subjected on. But at the very end, that brief moment is all it took. Just putting himself out in the open, that one wrong mistake, and Judges was there ready to capitalize.
Yeah, but I mean, that just shows, again, the confidence coming through by the team from Clips by Chicks. I mean, absolutely insane. They look to be at a little bit of a disadvantage, and they just bounce back from that, locking in those 4 eliminations. And of course now, it is going to be Puppeteers coming under quite a bit of pressure here, as we can see. Knowles now just trying to quickly huddle up behind the tree, but Assad could maybe sneak in that cheeky hit to knock them down.
Yeah, Nulse being targeted by the Gods Reborn crew, and they are a full 4-piece, quite spread out here, providing different angles on him, and that is not the ideal position you want to be in if you're Nulse, with just a little bit of open land here. All he's got are these trees and bushes to cling to. So yeah, he is definitely in a very vulnerable moment here. As you can see, Wolf just holding position with that 4x M4, and one wrong move from Nulse could be all it takes.
Yeah, but some great positioning going through here from Gods Reborn. I'm loving that 4-piece spread that they've got, really allowing them quite good coverage on end. But now it's going to be Knowles just inching the way from one tree to the other. Still trying to play a bit of a position here. But I mean, looking at what we've got coming through for the rest of the Puppeteer team, a very spread out approach. I mean, yes, we do have Knowles just holding on to this more southern angle. The rest of the squad just holding up behind him. I mean, Board in an angle where they could help to alleviate a little bit of this pressure, but we're not seeing the shots really come through just yet.
Yeah, not only that, I don't see Reckless or Cold Pants making much of an effort to actually rotate Southbound to assist him. So that leaves me with one impression, and that's they might have cut the losses there, realized that Nulse is in such a vulnerable position that to even go try to assist him is a bit of a risky move. And yes, case in point, Nulse is eliminated right there and then by Wolf with the M4. And that is going to leave Puppeteer down to a three-piece of Boar, Reckless, and Cold Pants, which means one thing, DK, they're going to have to dial things back. We say this quite a bit, but every member lost is a huge hit when you're up against full teams. So yes, they are going to have to play things a little bit dialed back. I don't want to say passive, but a little bit more conservative in that light and let these numbers dwindle down. Try to acquire a little bit of placement in there before going out on the all-out aggressive come-in game.
Yeah, but what's interesting now is that we see Reckless also just drawing a little bit closer, just looking to maybe bring in a little bit of fortification towards Boar. But I mean, I'm not quite sold on what's really happening over there towards that quarry position, right? If we look across the board, though, we do see the players here from Road to Death looking to get themselves set up in towards that more centralized zone. But I think this is going to be quite a bit of a pressure position because we've got so many teams still left trying to squeeze themselves on through. I mean, aside from Road to Death, there's still 14 other teams trying to look for a bit of a position to move towards.
You're absolutely right. And now we have eyes on Nucleotide Vendetta, pardon me, and it looks to me like they might be in a position to actually sandwich the crew in Ace of Spades. Now, Ace of Spades is absolutely one of the higher performing teams in the semifinals, so they're going to have to be a little bit cautious there. Ace of Spades is a renowned Tier 1 team in the NA scene, so yes, play it cautiously, but they do have an opportunity where Ace of Spades is currently sandwiched in between themselves and the Care Bears.
Yeah, and also take into consideration, Ace of Spades only starting off with a two-piece here, right? It is only Blinky and Nemesis, right? They haven't lost anybody. That is what they started the match off with. So it is going to be putting a little bit of a... It's going to change the approach ever so slightly. And of course, speaking about changing approaches, we can see the same thing happening on the side here for Puppeteer right now, completely looking to kind of disconnect from that initial setup, still leaving Cold Pants and Boar where they were, but now Reckless has a bit of an opportunity to go scouting out closer to that zone.
Yeah, and currently, as you mentioned, Ace of Spades just being a two-piece, I was watching them on the map, and they did fire inbound at the Care Bears, and I have to say I disagree with that, a decision like that. Just as you said, they entered this match in a serious handicap. They are putting themselves at an immediate disadvantage, coming in with just half a team, much less manpower, much less gunpowder. It's gonna absolutely have to dial things back, and I think that they know that, which is why they're holding position and not moving around too much. But all the while, just to the south, we see Seren holding the edge of the bridge, just anticipating someone from the Southern Military Island to come by. However, the only one there is Skills of Mine Bomba.
Yeah, I think that's going to be quite a successful position for Bomba to try and utilize. But again, if we look a little bit further to the northern side, right back into the zone, Forsaken Gaming actually holding a decent position, right? They've got control of those compounds, and we have several teams that are going to be opting now to get themselves positioned, and that is going to allow quite a bit of firepower to them, right? They could actually now look to leverage their positioning and apply that pressure where it needs to be.
Yeah, getting eyes on Third Eye, who also entered this match with one member shy. That's going to put them in as a two-piece, and you can see them rotating individually, which obvious advantages, obvious disadvantages. They're not going to all be taken out in one spray, but they're not going to be as easily able to help their teammate if they are attacked. And so, yeah, it's a risky gamble here, but getting eyes once again on the Gods Reborn crew. I don't remember who it was, but one of them was just knocked, probably between one of those two in the shack, but the revive has been pulled off, so it is going to put them right back up to a full four-piece, making them a very formidable team, especially considering their 2-2 split.
Yeah, but all they got to do now is, you know, just piece this whole approach back together. We do see Dark and Assad also just moving a little bit closer, but Road to Death still going to be holding on to a little bit of an angle on towards this western side. You can see them now trying to figure out where's going to be that best approach. And Seren still positioned towards the bridge, loving this 2-2 split coming in here. But now this is where Seren are definitely going to be put to the test. Looking to see whether or not Dimple and their teammate can actually hold up this front line.
Yeah, Dimple and Nyx holding position here, and this might boil down to a battle of utilities as they are exchanging nades left and right. However, Jason's nade's not hitting, Dimple's nade's not hitting. We have not yet seen contact, but that could change at any moment. That one just falling just shy a few feet of going inside the house, but even then, I don't think it would have dealt very significant damage there. And so Jason may be making the right move and trying to fall back to his teammates just a few feet.
Yeah, you know, if at first you don't succeed, reposition and try again, right? I think that is a healthy approach to be taking. But now we can see it's going to be Ronnie trying to just, you know, get a bit of a clear assessment of that more northern angle. Does spot out some movement there towards Gunda, but is not going to be fully committing to that approach just yet, right? Road to death, trying to do their due diligence, trying to see how many possible angles they can secure at this point.
Yeah, when you were talking about him firing in at Gunda, I look at those as more of warning shots than anything, because he knew that he didn't really have a line of sight. It was just more warning. He's saying, hey, if you do peek, you're going down. All the while, Puppeteer Cold Pants just aggressively pushing up on the third eye crew. He's got one boy in the shack, just one opponent, taking minimal damage. I apologize. His name is Gabber. And Gabber, well, his name was Gabber. Now his name is dead, as Cold Pants gets the quick knock and a quick thirst to follow suit.
Yeah, I mean, that was such a tough position for Gabar to play in. But as we can see, Gunda now still just trying to get that slightly centered zone under lockdown. I think there's going to be quite a bit of pressure coming in their direction, especially now for the team of Third Eye. But if we look at the rest of the teams, right, we are going to be seeing a little bit more of that forced rotation coming in. I mean, Strangers BD also going to be moving in on that western front alongside the Hitler. So you want to talk about pressure. I mean, that is definitely pretty evident towards the west.
Yeah, with 45 members still up, spread across 15 teams in a zone this small, the congestion is quite packed here. And absolutely, the pressure's mounting. As we can see, Dauntless Claws just trying desperately to find a position of safety, just driving around, looking as far away as he can, and trying to maintain his distance as he holds the edge of zone. All the while, Syringe just firing away at the Road to Death crew. We have not yet seen a takedown there, but they need to be careful. Syringe focusing in too much in on Road to Death, and they might forget about the boys in Dark Esports behind. Or pardon me, Strangers BD behind.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm loving this, the fact that Seren are leapfrogging their way closer, right? Trying to keep themselves in contention here. And this could still be a bit of a position for them to try and utilize. I mean, yes, we've got Jason and Go now just on the opposite end of that wall, but I'm not quite sure whether or not Tens is going to be able to react to that. Instead, focusing upwards, putting the shots up in towards Godlin, and this is where things now really come to show to see whether or not, Seren can actually get themselves secured into this warehouse.
And Butcher, as we saw, one of the team's front carriers there yesterday, absolutely holding position and giving his team a real honest chance, as he was the last one alive on 2 of the matches yesterday, really surviving quite a bit to the end game, getting some of those placement points for his team. So they definitely don't want to lose him this early on. All the while, we can see Golden Boy of Strangers BD just single tapping that M4 away, trying to get some damage in on the Gods Reborn crew. They're utilizing that shack as best as they can, but as we have witnessed, that shack can also be their undoing. It does provide some compound cover, but if you are pushed upon and a nade thrown in there, it could be the difference of life and death.
Yeah, so it's going to be quite the essential position to hold. But again, now as we look onto the place there from Dauntless, also having a little bit of a challenging approach, right? Assad now coming through for God's Reborn is going to be hopping into the vehicle, but Golden Boy just on point with that spray. Ooh, not realizing that instead they've actually rotated away, but that opens up the opportunity. Flash God also now just going to be lying out on the balcony, trying to line up those heads towards Viper. And this is where God's Reborn also now could find themselves in quite the uncomfortable sandwich.
Yeah, and while this was happening, Seren off in the distance securing a knock on one of the Clips Before Chicks crew. That could be an imperative time to push, however, it does not seem to be utilized. And look at this, Clips Before Chicks, of all the teams to get lucky with zone, Clips Before Chicks already placed in the center here. But as we've noticed yesterday, you know, being center of zone come in-game in that final circle could also be a team's undoing, just being surrounded on numerous sides. And this right here is exactly what I was talking about, the trade-off of having a shack cover. It comes with advantages and it comes with disadvantages. And here's one of those advantages, is that everyone is gonna have to push in to that shack kind of one at a time, maybe two at a time. And there he is, just ready and waiting, holding a spray out and getting those easy claps. However, one nade could have taken him out.
Yeah, but I mean, that was absolutely insane to see. And now there's going to be Joker looking to come into the swing of things now, rushing up alongside Road to Death. I mean, yes, that buggy is providing a little bit of coverage, but once it goes boom, your hopes and dreams follow suit. So that is going to be the end of the road for Hitless. Down to our final 10 teams we go. Care Bears also going to be looking to get themselves asserted in towards this more southern position. But now look at this. Puppeteers going to be taking the opportunity, trying to get themselves situated. But the spray down coming through from Black, just so devastating.
Yeah, they made a really risky move by turning their backs on the Forsaken Gaming crew, especially while they held that Overwatch position and had that line of sight. However, I can see why. They had Pain and Scrims both down. That is going to leave Pain with Black and Lucky with the responsibility to stick those revives rather than going off on the all-out offensive here.
Oh, but such a tough position. I mean, Lucky slightly exposed, having some form of a ridge to try and neutralize here. But of course, now we are going to be jumping to that northern edge of zone. It's going to be the players here from Nucleotide Vendetta trying to inch their way closer. They have a bit of an opportunity onto the team from Dauntless, but I mean, we want to talk about a back zone. This is exactly what we are seeing. And of course, you look onto that minimap, you can see the players there from Clips by Jinx just huddle up into that little shack, trying to shoot at everything that moves around there. But here goes Strangers DB, spotting the opportunity onto its Dauntless, Viper, and Dogway now in a world of trouble.
Yeah, honestly, they were exchanging knocks there, and now we see Strangers BD down to a two-piece, but probably able to stick a revive there in that situation. And as we can see, Lucky does not want to make the same mistake that we saw earlier with that vehicle explosion. He's going to go ahead and explode it himself, and now utilize that as a nice little position of cover, enough time to get his heal off before trying to work his way into zone.
Now, well, you got to try and utilize something that could potentially turn into a disadvantage and make it an advantage, you know, earlier rather than later. But now Nucleotide still having quite a bit of ground to cover to get themselves repositioned into that safe area. But look at this, so much fighting just erupting on the very edge. It is going to be Gods Reborn having a bit of a potential play onto Nucleotide, but not quite sure whether Dark is going to be able to survive this.
Yeah, honestly, if you are Nucleotide, you are a little bit late on the rotation into zone, but you still have a full four-piece team, I believe. And that is going to mean, yeah, you got more manpower. And there's really, I think they are the, you know, them and Road to Death are the last two full teams left here. And guys, we cannot stress the importance of being a full team come in-game. Just having that gunpowder, having that manpower, having those resources can make all the difference here. As we can see Marioso trying to utilize what cover he can, trying to enshroud himself behind the smoke as he works his way in. And all the while, his teammates Kabir and Chills being taken down, leaving Marioso almost on his own, aside from Karma.
Yeah, I mean, Karma really having to come in and try and fix up that positioning. But looking at the plays here from Strangers DB, right? They had that western positioning, but now they also have to head towards the eastern side. And still, it is going to be Clips by Chicks holding on to the zone. Yes, we did see a little bit of damage being dealt onto the Clips by Chicks, but it wasn't sufficient to secure that knock just yet. But now, right? This is where Clips by Chicks could really capitalize on that little shack, because the teams alongside them need to move right in front of their line of sight.
DK, I cannot believe this congestion that we have been seeing at the north end of this zone and the previous. Absolutely makes no sense to me. 5 or 6 teams just congested in an area of maybe 40 to 50 feet. All the while, the entire rest of the zone just afforded to the Care Bears and Road to Death.
Oh, I mean, it is going to be a battle of attrition. And speaking of that, of course, we do see Daryl getting taken on down. Now Jaden following suit. And it's going to be the players there from Puppeteer to secure that knock. Now, Clips by Chicks. Oh, and a very risky play. The team's really starting to encircle them. The zone also just moving out of reach. And this is where it's going to come down to that fastest finger first. It is Assad taking quite a bit of damage. Come Fears now.
Yeah, and when we talk about the Clips by Chicks, they did just lose one member, but you know what? You gotta give... Oh, and there's the caster curse, ladies and gentlemen. They're out of there, but let's give them credit where credit is due. They lost half of their original team at the very beginning of the match and still maintained to get all the placement that they really needed, along with 9 kills, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about impressive, that is definitely super, super impressive. But, you know, it ain't over until it's over. We still have our remaining teams now fighting for that position in towards the zone. It is absolute carnage up ahead as Envy Karma is just showing us everything that's unfolding. Nucleotide, of course, now trying to maybe lock in a few additional eliminations. Only currently sitting on that one. Ooh, but where will it go? The final 5 teams really fighting tooth and nail. Down to 4 we go.
And I really love what Karma's doing here. As a solo, he is trying to lay low and caster cursed. He is trying to lay low, or was trying to lay low, and utilize a great third party as he acquired his first kill in the team's first. However, in doing so, he did give up his location, and everyone else smelled that blood in the water. And it was just a matter of moments before that nade rained on him.
Yeah, but it is going to be raining chaos now in this final showdown. We have 5 players left, 2 teams remaining. Puppeteers sitting on 7 eliminations. Strangers BD sitting on 6 to their name. And this is the kind of push that we want to have come day number 2. But who's going to be the team to secure that winner chicken dinner? Oh, Goldpan's getting hit, and now it turns to Boar and Reckless.
Yeah, now the odds have absolutely been evened here. We have a 2v2 to end our day. Let's get, or pardon me, end our first match, pardon me. We can see Flash God not being too dangerous. He's not going to afford them that luxurious sight, so he's going to be sneaking his way, belly banditing his way a little bit closer to Boar from Puppeteer, and he does get the line of sight there with the UMP-45. Now all that remains is Reckless, and he does get him!
Well, absolutely beautiful showing of talent coming through. And I mean, this is a little bit needed, right? We know Puppeteers and Strangers, they started off the day of in 13th and 16th position, right? So, I mean, might as well, seeing that it is the final day, that final opportunity, just look to go out with an absolute bang.
Yeah, I think they're sending a message to basically every other participant here on the playing field saying, hey guys, we might not have done as well as we would have hoped here, but guess what? We still deserve to be here, and we're going to show you right now.
Yeah, well, they definitely showed. I mean, Strangers walking away there with, that was 9 eliminations to their name. Puppeteers picking up that second place, locking in 7 eliminations. So a very, very healthy showing coming through. And of course, the players then from Gods Reborn, right? They secured themselves all the way into 3rd place. And they did so with at least acquiring what seems to be, I think, 7 eliminations, if my math is correct.
But let's talk about the topic on everyone's mind here. Clips before Chicks not doing the move that we all predicted. They are not dropping hot like we expected. No. They went northbound to Roshawk, which means one thing to me, DK. It means that they are not putting all their eggs in that basket from yesterday. They are not going to play recklessly. They are here with a cautious, very, very healthy lead, and they don't plan to sacrifice that for anything. Being brought down to just 2 members in the first few minutes of the game, and they still maintain to get the placement all the way to the end and acquire 9 kills just between 2 people.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they are here to rule with the lead first, right? Just to keeping up the aggression, locking in 10 eliminations. Regardless whether or not they had only 2 players or a full squad, doesn't really matter, right? We still see them hitting those double digits. But of course, our MVP for this game is going to be none other than Judges, sitting on 5 eliminations and 976 damage.
Yeah, let's just give credit to where credit is due. Judges was, of course, playing on the Clips Before Chicks team, and they were, as we said, a 2-piece basically from the get-go. About 5 minutes in, they had already lost half their members. So Judges going on this much of an aggressive side, even as a 2-piece, still the MVP of kills, that's pretty impressive right there.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite impressive, but as we know, it was not only Judges who locked into those eliminations. They had a little bit of help, but their teammate also then securing the exact same amount of eliminations. So it means that Judges just was able to secure that extra little bit of damage to take that MVP position.
Yeah, let's not take credit away from where it's due here. Every knock that he had, every kill that he had, he has also dealt 200 damage, almost twice as much. Now here we see the MVT. This shouldn't really be too much of a surprise to folks. Clips by Chicks still managing 10 kills total, but still breaking past the 2,000 point damage marker. That is very impressive as a two-piece.
Yeah, I think it'd be quite impressive to see their cumulative damage that they've dealt just in these past 2 days, right? Yesterday and today. I mean, I think that would look absolutely insane. But yeah, as you've said, right, no surprise to see Clips by Chicks being our most valued team.
Yeah, and I think this absolutely sends a message to the rest of the playing board. You know, even when you get them down to half of their starters, they're still such a formidable opponent. And case in point, guys, let's take a quick look at the damage rankings here, as Clips by Chicks still holds the lead in damage, even with just those two players being the ones to acquire it. We got Strangers BD holding second place in damage with 1,774, holding third in 1,774. We got Road to Death second place in damages with 2,007, and Gods Reborn with 1,440.
Yeah, I mean, but still, those damage numbers are looking pretty good. I mean, Road to Death also sitting on 2,000 damage. I mean, Strangers, one elimination lower than what we had come through for Clips by Chicks. But look at the damage. The damage is still there. So I'm liking the fact that the teams are really looking to double down on their efforts.
Yeah, this tells me one thing, DK. For every kill that they had, they've also got a lot of damage being dealt, some knocks that haven't been quite utilized, but this tells me that they are all out aggressive. Everything is boiling down to this final day. Just 3 matches to determine who is going to take home that money. And so, yes, with everything on the line, they are going all out on the offensive.
Yeah, and we gotta love that, right? And of course, we are gonna be looking at our eliminations and damage breakdown, and it's looking pretty healthy, right? We did see yesterday on that 22 elimination game that things also looked super balanced, but like I say, I'm loving this change up, right? We can see those numbers looking high across the board, especially in our top 6 teams. I mean, even Care Bears, even though they've only been able to secure 4 eliminations, still a very healthy dose of damage coming through.
Yeah, this definitely seems to be a much more even distribution of eliminations and damage than what we saw yesterday, with the Clips by Chicks just surmounting every expectation there. But this is a lot more evenly paced and kind of what we were hoping to see, as we see Strangers not even very far off from that damage marker, only about 300 damage. Yeah, 300 damage behind and only 1 kill behind.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking good. It's looking good. So Strangers, they need to be no strangers today, right? They need to step up. And they've still got 2 more maps to go, but now we've got to take a look and see what the overall ranking situation is. Of course, 104 points secured up into that pole position. Care Bears still going to be holding on. I mean, but sitting on 47, so they're not going to be moving anywhere. But we need to see, well, at least 30 points come in per game for these next 2 matches.
Yeah, what I like about this is just that there are so many payouts here from 2nd to 6th place. They are all still playing on the line for money here. So Care Bears, yes, they are about 60 points behind 1st place, but they are in the clutches of just out of reach of Road to Death. And so, yes, they are absolutely going to be a little bit cautious here, and they don't want to make any reckless mistakes. Clips by Chicks. 104 points. I mean, let's just say what is on everyone's mind. They already doubled 2nd place last match. Before we even started today, they were resting pretty healthily around 90 points. And Care Bears just now getting to that halfway mark of where they were at before they got these additional points. It can be very discouraging, but you got to keep your eye on the prize, because there's still an $1,800 2nd place prize, and Care Bears can taste it on the tip of their tongue.
Yeah, but I mean, this is scary to look at, right? 44 placement points, that's what they've got, right? Just based on placement points alone, they would have already been sitting anywhere between that, 2nd, 3rd place, regardless, right? If they just played the way that they've been playing already, but doing that without securing those 60 eliminations that they've got, I mean, that is quite scary to think of, just the consistency being shown here. But again, right, the opportunity is still there for Care Bears to try and solidify their positioning, right? If they are happy with taking that 2nd place, they got to defend it, because, I mean, Road to Death, they're coming for it.
Yeah, they absolutely smell the blood in the water, and they want those Care Bears out of there. But guys, can Clips by Chicks roll on forward, keeping up this unbelievable momentum that they have built for themselves? We're gonna have to wait just a few short moments, but we are gonna be right back at you in just a few short moments. As I said, with the wide open desert, I am of course speaking about Miramar. Now, actually, we are getting into Miramar right as we speak. We have just yapped our entire way through the intermission, so here we are. What needs to be said about Miramar? Basically, it's the largest map that we have in the game. Now, technically, Erangel is the same size, being an 8x8, but that includes Erangel's Bodies of Water DK, so realistically, this is the largest map that we got. So, yes, the odds of you being sniped from 300 meters away, just a little exponentially higher than they are on other maps. But as we said, it is the most open map, so you're gonna have to be aware of not just your immediate surroundings, but your distant surroundings as well.
Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to seeing where the zone and flight path is going to be taking the team, right? Because as we know, also then, aside from everything that you've said about Miramar, there are also several different kind of setups depending on where you are on the map itself, right? We've got our heavy mountainous areas, we've got our more, you know, kind of flat out areas as well. But then we have something that kind of resembles a little bit of that standoff action down towards those southern edges. So I'm curious to see where it's going to be going, and the teams will definitely have a great opportunity to yet again showcase those more ranged assaults.
Well, it's all going to depend on what sort of flight path we are working with at the beginning of the game to determine just what sort of strategy these players need to implement. Because if the flight path does not afford them much compound cover and they are in that open range, that's when it comes down to really understanding the geography, knowing the hills, knowing the divots, knowing where you can get your natural cover if compound cover is not afforded to you.
Yeah, so it's all going to come down to, you know, those beautiful essential positionings. But of course, as we know, the terrain will be a little bit more lenient, right? Granting these players a little bit more of that safe passage depending on how they take on these rotations. But as the ramp says, vamos, we're getting ready to jump on through to see what our very last Miramar is going to be bringing in. Any predictions before we look at that flight path?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and predict something here. I'm going to predict that the Clips by Chicks, Clips before Chicks, is going to continue that sort of trend, not from last game, but from the semifinals, where they played the very first match of the day somewhat cautiously and then go on the all-out aggressive afterwards. So this match, I could be very wrong here, but I'm going to gamble that they're going to be dropping a little bit hot. And given this flight path, I would say Los Leones, maybe Puerto Paricio, but I would really hope the Leones area in this case, because they will absolutely be met with some company if that's the case.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see exactly where they're going to be going. I mean, this eastern flight path, it is not often that we see such a vertical flight path coming through here. Already, we do have a few teams taking the early jump. You can see the players there from Strangers DB and BD rather, and the players then from Seren moving towards that eastern side. Now comes that separation. Looking to see what kind of a potential play these teams have in mind come this exciting flight path.
Well, see, that's the thing. This is an exciting flight path because it's deceptive. It does not look like an ideal path to the participants from a viewer standpoint right away, but it's actually one of the most ideal. And the reason being, because of this path from that Campo Militar down to Chumacera region, they are lined with just channels and channels of compounds there. And this flight path is pretty reachable to almost all of those. So they are left with quite a bit of options for an early Miramar match. Now, if there was ever the case to be argued that a more passive early game is possible from this, it's never more so than on Miramar. But as we said previously, that could only mean one thing, and more action-packed in-game. But we might actually end up getting some good action early on, as we can see members of Gods Reborn jumping alongside the crew in Nucleotide Vendetta, as well as Forsaken Gaming.
Yeah, I gotta say, this is gonna be a super interesting zone that we have to kick it off. Super North. I mean, it's not often that we see our aces being available for teams actually to rotate towards, but we're not seeing a over-committance of that coming through. Instead, the teams are going to focus their efforts a little bit more down towards San Martin, you know, water treatment, looking to get themselves beautifully spread out. But I'm liking the fact that we do have the players from Nucleotide and, of course, Gods Reborn situated up in towards Los Leones, right? We know the city is quite big, quite vast, so I don't expect them really to start bumping heads in the early game.
And I find myself, I don't know if I should choke on my words here from what I said previously about Clips Before Chicks dropping hot, but I still think Picado is a fairly renowned hotspot in the Miramar region. So maybe that they were dropping there with the expectation, or maybe they were dropping there to send out the message, maybe not, who knows. All the while, the real focus right now is this congestion in the center of zone between Dauntless, Built on Bullet, Puppeteer, and Road to Death. It's also, I believe I see the hit list somewhere in there in the mix with Puppeteer. Yeah, that is a lot of teams there, pretty congested in not a very far area. However, being at the Hacienda del Patrón and water treatment area, they do have some compound cover afforded to them. Oh, Reckless being taken out pretty early on, bringing Puppeteer down to a 3-piece right off the initial bat, and Puppeteer is quite spread out.
Yeah, that was Reckless being on the hit list, right? That is what we saw happening just then. But now it's going to be up to the Puppeteers to see whether or not they can claim some safety, some security up into water treatment. I mean, this now really does limit their options because, I mean, water treatment is a fine place to loot as maybe a solo or potentially a duo, but for a squad, it becomes a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, resources can become pretty few and far between at that stage. So they're going to have to find a way to actually get enough resources for everybody. But you know what my focus is? It's going to be on Nucleotide Vendetta and the Gods Reborn guys at the Los Leones area, very far outside of zone. Because as we have noted, this zone is already sped up. We saw the circle before a lot of teams even hit the ground. And so, yes, that means that the zones are going to be boosted most likely. So they're going to have to consider getting an early rotation into zone.
Yep, got to agree with that one. So, you know, positioning is going to be of the utmost importance here. But look at the spray, though. It's going to be Puppeteer taking a really wide spread. I mean, even in Miramar terms. And now it is going to be Hitless getting caught potentially right in the middle of that. So this could be the opportunity now for Puppeteers to maybe look to bring in a little bit of that repayment onto the Hitless.
Yeah, this is basically an example of polar opposite strategies. The hit list operating as a singular unit here versus Puppeteer doing the more spread out individual approach. Now, both strategies have their purpose. Puppeteers is that they can have multiple angles on an opponent, and the hit list is that they are going to outnumber one of the Puppeteers if they do gang up.
Ooh. But we still have Trickster there, right? I'm loving the strategy coming through from the hit list. But it is going to be Boar who gets bored with that approach. Instead, pops out and just lays it on through. But look at Gold Pants also now finding some beautiful sprays. And this is where this close quarter potential altercation with that UMP could be absolutely phenomenal. But Flash now having to try and kind of figure out what to do next. As the whole strategy has been turned on his head.
And this is a great example right here of knowing your geography and knowing when to utilize your utilities here. Cold Pants trying to enshroud himself in what bit of cover he can as he uses the smoke. And now he knows he's got Flash down low, down to about half health. And he was going to go there and try to finish the job. Unfortunately, all for naught. But he's going to go ahead right now and acquire a thirst on Cal from the hit list. That's going to bring them down to literally Flash and Flash alone.
Well, let's hope that Flash, you know, stays true to their name and could potentially find a bit of a position maybe further north. I mean, also there's a bit of an option on that eastern side. So Flash trying to play it a little bit more cautiously, but now comes that time, that moment where the teams need to start taking their rotations into consideration. We can see the players on that far southern edge, right? Skills of Mind still having quite a bit of distance to cover. So it is going to be interesting to see where exactly the players there from Skills of Mind are going to be looking to pull in towards, right? Are they going to be pulling in behind the players there from Third Eye, or are they going to be opting for a little bit more of that Minas Generales kind of rotation?
Yeah, we have spoken about, you know, the hesitation of being one of the later teams to rotate into zone. We've also spoken about the hesitation of being one of the early teams to rotate into zone. Skills of Mind is going to have to make a decision. And realistically, if they work their way in towards that Gods Reborn area, it could spell the end for them. So what should they be doing here? I don't know. I think it kind of varies on a case-by-case basis, but with the zone being boosted, it seems a pretty risky move.
Yeah, I think the importance here is just to stay ahead of the blue, right? It doesn't really matter where you rotate in towards because you're going to be met with a very similar kind of approach. And of course, now Clips by Chicks just showing off with the skills there, you know, going for a little bit of a party bus surf. I mean, sure, why not? But now Yeah, it's all down to what Gods Reborn and the players there from Skills of Mind are going to be looking to do. I mean, they still have quite a plethora of options as to where they can look to rotate towards.
And Skills of Mine not really taking any chances as they just hug that coastal route, working a northbound rotation. But you know, oh, here we go. Dark Esports quickly pulling up on the Puppeteer crew, and we got a 4v3 on our hands.
Yeah, gonna love it. This is that push now. Guru, trying to show us what they've got is going to be Nulls just up ahead. Loving the UMP utilization coming in here. But it is going to be a beautiful back and forth. And there we have it, the drop shot.
Yeah, the battle of the umps, the close quarter combat annihilator. Now that's going to bring Dark Esports down to Neo, Noob, and Omrit. They're going to have to play this pretty intelligently. You can see Neo considering a utility. I think he's got a general idea on where Boar is.
Yeah, but I mean, as we know, at this point in time, right, having a general idea is not the same as having a pretty good guesstimation. And now it is going to be that nade getting sent out. Oh, finds a bit of damage. Good throw coming through from Neo.
Yeah, and Boar just hugging the corner of that compound, not taking too much damage there in the process. Realistically, he's doing fairly comfortable. One boost is all that's going to separate him from full health. But there's the Molly to rain hellfire on him. Almost hitting him, missing by just inches.
Yeah, and of course, they've got that potential care package coming through as well. But Gold Pants Boar now having to try and find, or maybe figure out rather, what the more opportune approach is going to be. I'm loving the fact that they are looking to disengage. But look at Dark Esports, so quick on the response, moving up, trying to bring in that action. And this could maybe be Puppeteers now getting a clean escape.
Yeah, and Dark Esports did push forward aggressively, but not without strategy. They had that 3-1 split. They had their outlier ready and waiting just in case things hit the ceiling fan and the rest of the team was taken out. They still had one guy left to get those placement points. All the while, Nucleotide could be in some serious trouble as the Clips Before Chicks crew rains in on them.
Yeah, it's going to be 24K now, just sneaking around, coming in behind Chills. I mean, that M249, absolute beast of a weapon. But is it going to work? Oh, no, their scout actually getting taken down. As we can see, Mari also getting hit there by Coops. And this is a beautiful strategy being brought through now by Clips by Chicks.
Ooh, and Coops coming in for a quick thirst, but taking a bit of a risky move there as he puts himself in a vulnerable position and faces the consequences, being shot down to below half health. He is going to use this opportunity to heal up, try to enshroud himself in what bit of cover he can. He's got this vehicle and he's got some smokes, but shot down a bit more by Kabir in the distance. He is taken down once again to just above half health. A lot of the pressure on Coops at this moment, all the while his teammates dealing with Karma and Chills.
Yeah, it's a very, very tough position to be caught in, but it's going to be Nucleotide now trying to clear out this top floor. It is going to be Karma looking for a bit of an opportunity. They figured out a way Judges could be. Now it's going to be that full send, but Judges quick on the trigger, finds the spray. Chills now stepping in, but there we go. Judges locks it down.
This was Nucleotide's victory in the bag. They had Judges down on health, and they allowed him to literally use a first aid just inches away from him with more members up. They knew he was down to a solo, but they hesitated, and those brief few moments of hesitation were all it take for Judges to heal himself back up, and that little sliver of health was all he needed left to get the takedown on two of their members.
It's almost like, giving the finger and they take the hand, right? That is what we had happen right there. But now it all comes down to Kabir. Kabir, of course, are going to be trying to get themselves secured within that zone. A little bit of ground to cover still, but as we jump over towards the players here from based on Bullet, we can see them now also just trying to find a little bit of that angle as they move in. They spot out Dark Esports, and this could be that opportunity now for based on Bullets maybe to pull off a bit of a maneuver here.
Yeah, I think Akash might have gotten a little bit kill hungry there with that mini. He got a quick knock on one of the Dark Esports crew, but did not notice that he was almost in the midst of one of their opponents right there next to him. But luckily, Shirin, Terminate, and Mandip can come in for the assist, and Akash will get revived.
Yeah, safety of numbers really being a thing here, but it is going to be Mandip now trying to just inch their way forward. Oh, that would have been such a great opportunity to send a nade, but now Amrit and Noob instead gets a bit of an opportunity at a reset here.
Yeah, this seems to be another wasted opportunity, this time for Based on Bullet, but Mandip allowing his opponents to actually get that revive, but still coming in and dealing out the damage, getting Noob down pretty low there. As you can see, Guru just trying to make his way in an escape, taken down to below half health, Terminate firing all the way, but Amrit using that UMP 45 to take him out.
Oh gosh, with the crazy taps coming through on that mini 14, and now it's going to be that full send coming through here from Based on Bullet. Dark Esports going to be looking to get it under control, but Guru and Amrit having quite a bit of work to do here, not having a clear line of sight onto the blaze here from Based on Bullet.
Yeah, and this is the one part of the game that always kind of threw me off. Just these hay bales absolutely stopping bullets and vehicles from that close. But you know what? We'll utilize what cover we can. Unfortunately for Amrit, the shrouding and the smoke, all of that was for naught as Based on Bullet comes in and finishes the job on him, leaving things riding on Guru.
Yeah, there's going to be quite a bit now riding on their shoulders. Based on Bullets not in the clear just yet, but it is all going to come down to what the Blaze here from Dark Esports can do. Will we see that 1v4 clutch coming through? I mean, this is Guru now in an absolute world of trouble, but Mandip is going to be holding a steady angle. Oh, that molly comes through, and that is going to be it. Based on Bullets gets a clean sweep on Dark Esports.
Yeah, and you can see Mondip a little bit eager there, catching himself on fire in the process and getting knocked as well. But you know what? They made it through, and they made it through as a full 4-piece as they acquire their first 4 kills as a full team. They're looking in a pretty healthy position.
Yeah, nothing wrong with looking healthy, right? You want to have that. Now, they have control of that southern edge. They can now just focus their efforts on getting themselves repositioned. But of course, speaking about repositioning, right? It is going to be Clips by Chicks now taking a little bit of a stroll here. We do see Judges bumping into a few rocks along the way, and it is looking like they could have a relatively interesting rotation. I mean, it's not too congested up ahead. We do have that slight bit of a pocket there, but it's all going to come down to what opportunities these teams are able to identify.
Well, what's interesting to note is that Clips Before Chicks is once again an early on 2-piece. They have lost half their original members, 24K and Fears being taken out pretty early in the game without being able to acquire any kills. But as we have seen time and time again, you can't have one member of Clips Before Chicks up and feel comfortable. So having Coops and Judges going around, yeah, they're still a very formidable opponent, even if they are driving around in a sports car in the desert.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully it's only a game and it's not, you know, really based on real life. I mean, I don't know who would go trolling in the desert with a supercar. I mean, if you are one of those individuals, you know, power to you, I guess. But speaking about power, right, the players here from Skills of Mind have quite a great vantage point, right? They've got the entirety of that eastern side to their back. It is open, and they can focus all their efforts now further west onto the players coming through here from Third Eye, and of course the Strangers DB.
Yeah, Skills of Mind really in a fairly optimum position given their situation. Their situation being that they entered this match as a 3-piece. So yes, they have less manpower, less gunpower, and fewer eyes to actually keep an perspective on what's going on around you. So by doing this, they are finding one less angle that they have to keep an eye on. And I think that's a pretty smart move for them because all they have to do is look forward and to their sides. And that what they do have to worry about immediately, though, is they find themselves the center of this love triangle between Third Eye, Strangers, and the hit list.
Yeah, all those triangles coming into play once again. Of course, speaking about triangles, we've got a little bit of a squibble up towards this northern side with the players here from Dauntless. We also have the Care Bears just south of their position. But speaking about south, right, there's going to be Clips by Chicks and Based on Bullet now fighting for control of the edge of the southern zone.
Yeah, now this really should be where Based on Bullet operates as a singular unit. They are a full 4-piece, but did not engage on Clips as such. They engaged in a bit, maybe a 1 or 2 people attacking, and that is not ideal for going up against these two. And that is why Judges was able to come out victorious there, but now he's going to use his opportunity and reunite with his teammate Coops.
Yeah, I mean, so excited to get there. They almost run them over. So, you know, it's a bit of an approach, I guess, but now it's going to be the opportunity for the players there from Based on Bullet to decide how they're going to take this approach back in towards Zoran. Mandip, the only player to get past, or to rather still try and get past the Clips by Chicks, but up goes the blue zone, and this could change up that whole approach ever so slightly.
Yeah, I've been questioning some of the decisions from Based on Bullet pretty much throughout the entirety of this match, and I feel like I have to do it again. And the reason being is because they just coincidentally positioned themselves in such a way that they just had a sandwich situation on Clips before Chicks, and that could have been a real opportunity considering they are just a two-piece. They could have maybe done a 2-2 split and just swarmed in on them, but even with that zone being what it is, it really could have been an opportunity afforded to them. But as you saw, Mandip using this opportunity to rotate to his teammates and work their way into zone.
Yeah, but now comes that really tough decision, right? I mean, the players here from Forsaken Gaming, yes, they've got a good setup coming through on towards this northern side. I mean, Seren's so close to the edge of zone, but instead they are going to be looking to try and leverage this elevation. They've got the players there from Gods Reborn. They've got Road to Death right behind them as well. So quite a few opportunities now lying in wait here for Seren to try and capitalize on.
Yeah, and Seren, one of those teams that just, again, enters at a handicap, putting themselves at an immediate disadvantage. That's when every member counts with all that much more. And Ronnie, we can see him pushing in, working his way. He's already got Dibble down to 1/5 of his overall health. Dibble firing away with that UMP-45, but it's all for naught. That M249, large machine gun just going to work. However, even a 150-round clip isn't enough to save you from Nyx.
Yeah, I mean, you can cause quite a bit of damage with that, but now it's going to be up to Seren to try and keep it at least the edge of zone still in contention, right? Trying to quickly dispatch Dimple up, but Jason is going to be cooking up a nade. Will it reach all the way across? I mean, Nyx just narrowly moving out of the line of fire.
Yeah, just quickly repositioning himself could make all the difference. All the while, it's actually Seren's Butcher who gets a nade on them. I believe he took down Prince or Ronnie. Can't see which from this angle, but this is the absolute opportunity for Seren to push up and advance upon Road to Death. Really capitalize on the situation. With Ronnie low on health, Prince down, this is the time to make their move.
Yeah, this is now definitely that opportunity for Seren to lock it in. It is going to be Godlin down as well, and now turns to Jason, and that is going to be it. It is going to be Seren to get that squad wipe on Road to Death, but now they're not out of the woods because the players here from Gods Reborn still just spearing across, so there could be quite a bit of contention coming through. But Strangers DB now having to just try and play this hard cover as best they can.
Yeah, Gods Reborn with an interesting predicament on their hands, firing away at the Strangers crew. We see Assad single tapping that Mini 14, but what he may not know is that the Pittsburgh Knights' very own Coops is just a few feet away from him, just a little bit behind, but with it being an open desert, ooh, one wrong move, one peek through that window could be all the difference between life and death.
Yeah, that's all you need, right? Just that one peak. That is going to be the deciding factor. But Coops going to be holding a steady position. We do see the players there from Forsaken Gaming, of course, now still in a little bit of an altercation towards that northern side. But as we jump back to the southern edge, it is still the players then from Based on Bullet trying to clear the pathway alongside the team there for Forsaken. Well, no, sorry, Forsaken Appian towards the northern side is instead Puppeteer held up alongside them. But here we have it, right? It is going to be the Care Bears, ooh, trying to piece a bit of a play together.
Well, from my perspective, there's only one Care Bear left, and it could be the bad news bears for him, as Lucky is making it rain Hellfire, just utilizing his utilities. However, not quite getting the connecting damage he needs, and oh, it looks like, I apologize for not knowing how to say this guy's name, but he was trying his best to heal up, being ganged on, not just by Forsaken Gaming, but from Nucleotide's very own Kabir as well.
Yeah, and Kabir still in such a great position. I mean, they've not been found just yet, so I think it could just come down to that trigger discipline, right? Kabir now waiting for the opportunity on Forsaken Gaming to get out of the shack, and we could see an absolute rain of chaos now heading in their direction. But Coops still going to be positioned in towards that more centered zone, now finding themselves on the very edge of it and having to deal with quite a bit of pressure.
Yeah, with it being a Miramar match and just not a whole lot of compound cover afforded in this final zone, if any at all, Coops is trying to utilize the one little shack that he can here. Being the solo, being the last hope here for the team, he really wants to get those placement points. He does not want to afford any possibility of giving up that first place prize.
Well, they've already got 4 eliminations to their name, and now it's going to be skills of mine down to their final hopeful. It's going to be JP now looking on as Dauntless comes rushing on forward. Up comes Klaus with a little bit of fish through the smoke, looking for those hit markers, and now it's going to be the showdown, and down goes JP.
Yeah, well, you gotta admit, he just barely dodged that buggy just in the nick of time, but all for naught, and just outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned. But this is interesting to see. Knights Coops is going to be firing away at Gods Reborn, putting themselves against a 1v4 situation, and he is ready to take it on aggressively, just firing away at Assad as they work their way right up to the action. They are not afraid of Coops in this situation. They know they got him outnumbered, and Coops knows it too as he tries to evacuate.
Yeah, but will Coops be able to get away? Of course, now the entirety of the terrain proving to be quite challenging to cross. And of course, we can see the players from Dauntless. We got Forsaken also putting up into the mix. But this is an opportunity for Kabir to still maybe secure themselves that extra elimination. It's going to be Dogway to get taken out just up ahead. And now, oh, the position for Kabir is not favored as they do get spotted by Strangers BD, and down they go.
Yeah, and in that meantime, Coops was eliminated here, but let's take note, guys. Where they were not able to get the dub, they were able to acquire the placement nonetheless. Lucky firing away over at members of Gods Reborn. Yes, it is Gods Reborn. Dark trying to retaliate with a Scar L6X combo, and it looks like Wolf is able to finish the job for him.
Well, Gods Reborn still having some decent numbers come through, but if you want to really talk about it, not only decent numbers, but a good positioning, Strangers BD, right? They have a pretty controlling angle here, and all they got to do now is defend that. Of course, Third Eye are going to be looking for the opportunities down south, as we can see. Sook finds the angle on towards Assad, makes that vehicle go boom. And now, God Reborn looking for a bit of an opportunity to get themselves in from that western side.
Yeah, SUK really raining hellfire upon him, getting that one knock and dealing out some very significant damage to the remainder of the team. This is going to be a great opportunity for him to try to work his way into zone, try to reunite with his teammates, and take on the immediate threat of Strangers BD.
But it's so great to see once Clips by Chicks get taken out, how the rest of the lobby just rises to the occasion. Of course, our next team to fall is going to be Forsaken Gaming. Down to the final 3 contenders we are, right? It's going to be Strangers, it's going to be Third Eye, and still Gods Reborn holding on to their last remaining hopeful. Dark now trying to wrap their way on through. Sook has a little bit of line of sight on towards them, but not as clear as they would have wanted. And Strangers being in absolutely phenomenal position. They still have 6 eliminations and the entire squad to control the zone.
Yeah, both teams in a fairly good position here. As you can see, Third Eye with the 3 members still up, taking a bit more of a diverse approach as Kun, Jadon, and Gabber are able to acquire multiple angles, but Flash God pushing right up. Voltex capitalizing on the brief peek from Jadon and does get the knock with that 6x Scar-L. That is going to put a lot of the pressure here on Gabber and SUK.
Yeah, this is Strangers game to win. Let's see whether or not they are able to secure that victory. I mean, Gabar definitely going to be trying to keep up the defensive line as they're opting for a bit of a raids to come through, but Flash God not going to be having any of that. Instead, they're going to be keeping the pressure up. Up comes Volt, also now looking to add to that. It's going to be Gabar to get spotted out. Down they go, and the tables are turning as there's only 1 player left for the side of Third Eye.
Yeah, Third Eye is down to 1 eye, and that is SUK in a very, very peanut butter and bad news situation as he is in a 4v1 up against the likes of Strangers BD.
Oh, let's see whether or not Sook is able to maybe to stay ahead of that. I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility for Sook to potentially clutch this one out, but it's going to take such a beautiful turn of events for that to go down. But up comes the push now. Volt X locking it down, and that is going to be the winner with a chicken dinner being awarded straight to them.
Yeah, you got to give credit to SUK from Third Eye, but in the end, I feel like one of the preliminary mistakes that he may have made was trying to retreat back to that box to try to acquire those last-minute resources, putting himself in the dead zone. And at this point, the dead zone is your worst enemy, just absolutely annihilating his health. And before even taking a single bullet from the Stranger's crew, he was already down to half health.
Yeah, it's coming in with a slight bit of a disadvantage right there. But I mean, you gotta take it for what it is, right? Good attempt coming through there from Third Eye. Yes, they managed to make it all the way into that second place, and they secure themselves 5 eliminations. So well done. I mean, Sook picking up 4 of those, right? So it was a valiant effort regardless.
Yeah, you got to give credit to Sook carrying 80% of his team's kills and acquiring that second place finish. Ain't nothing wrong with silver. But guys, the winners of round 2 are the likes of Strangers BD, putting up a very healthy 9 kills, 4 of which go to Volt X, 3 to Flash God. It's actually a pretty even distribution when you look at that. Revenge and Golden Boy each putting up a kill of their own. We got third place, Bronze, going to the crew in Gods Reborn. Now, Gods Reborn taking a bit more of a dialed back approach, not really being very kill intensive. Definitely prioritizing placement, as you can see, at least in this match. I am going to be curious as to if that strategy is going to be implemented in a map like Sandhawk, just because I don't really think that that's the way to go. That ticket is not going to be what worked on Miramar. Is not the ticket for a lush condensed jungle of Sandhawk. It's going to be an all-out confrontation, and these players are going to have to pull things into a very aggressive standpoint as we move into our third and our final match.
Yeah, it's going to be quite exciting to see what these teams are going to be doing. But of course, let's take a look and see, what our breakdown is as we head on over into our MVP, I believe.
Well, the man of the hour, who we were just speaking about, Sook, able to put up a very healthy 4 kills for his team, 4 of the team's 5, and on top of that, 736 damage. So he was playing with some additional knocks potentially as well. However, being put with all the odds stacked against him, I still have to say that one fatal error of falling back into the dead zone took away what slim threat of a chance he had at acquiring that 1v4 finish. But nonetheless, it is not to take the credit away from that 4-kill finish.
Yep, it was beautiful regardless, right? 736 damage being dealt there. So I'm loving the I'm loving the direction in which Third Eye are going with this one. I mean, Sook, just out there searching for all those angles. And of course, now our MVT is going to be none other than Strangers BD, and a very, very satisfying performance, right? Locking in those 9 eliminations and a really good convergence if we look at the amount of damage they were dealing as well.
Yeah, only about 450 damage to spare there. That means, and it tells me one thing and one thing only, DK. It means that these boys are efficient in getting their thirst on their knocks.
Yeah, well, you got to be thirsty either which way, right? You definitely need to try and, keep it as a, well, yeah, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for there, but either which way, Strangers doing their thing out there, making sure that they could just outpower the competition moving into this last zone. And I mean, we need to see how that then translates moving closer to our standings.
Yeah, and as we move into our third and final match of the day, we have said it time and time again, DK, but you know what? What worked on a big old wide open desert of Miramar is not going to be the ticket for Sandhawk. But guys, let's have a brief moment to check out this damage distribution. We've got looks like Dauntless carrying the main load of the damage with 1,464. However, only 7 kills to that, which means that conversion rate is not quite what we're looking for. Strangers BD, on the other hand, trailing just shortly behind with 1,357. With 9 kills, that's a little bit healthier. And as we dial things back over to Third Eye, ironically, Third Eye in third place here in terms of damage, 1,271. That is a little bit disappointing to see only 5 kills acquired from that. And same to be said for Forsaken Gaming, able to put up about twice the amount of damage per kill ratio.
Yeah, I mean, either which way, it's still looking pretty good. I mean, the numbers are getting closer, right? We had such an aggressive performance coming through in that very first game, but it's nice to see the change up come the second game. Right now, of course, we're going to be moving into our aggressive map after this, right? For that final showdown. And that's where we want to see the kind of culmination of what we had on both our previous matches. Looking to see how the teams are going to be looking to utilize the opportunities that could arise.
Yeah, DK, you're absolutely right. And as we have said time and time again, Sandhawk is an all-out aggressive map, but even more so now because we have had 5 matches already in the basket and everything is riding on this last one. All the aggression. If there was ever a time to go all out, now it is that.
Yeah, definitely is. And look at this. The team's really looking to go all out, at least with regards to the aggression on the damage, right? I mean, it is all the way down to the players there from Dark Esports, right? Walking away with 700 damage, only being able to lock in one elimination from that. But even the Care Bears, right? They care. They care about damage. They secure 168 damage.
Yeah, Care Bears definitely are biting their tongue here at their performance in round 2, because they were absolutely one of the front runners in terms of placement here. With every place that they are knocked down is a pretty significant decrease in payout. So yeah, you can imagine that they are kicking their feet quite a bit, but they still have one more match to go, one more match to make up for that lost time.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to that very final game, right? And I mean, you said it, and rightly so, right? That's the importance of what we're looking at right now. Is if a team is struggling to keep up the performance, keep up that point accusation or right, accumulation rather, accusation, sure. That is definitely putting in quite a bit of a dent. And of course, we are going to be taking a look at the overall rankings to see what that situation is. And it is quite a bit of a change. Care Bears now getting moved all the way down to 4th place.
Oh, that is quite a bump down for them. But what's interesting to note is that Clips by Chicks are still reading at 109 points, which is a little bit confusing to me, just given their performance, being able to acquire the ranking that they did, or placement that they did last match. But nonetheless, we have Third Eye holding third, still positioned, but only 1 point behind second place, 53 to 54 points. Literally 1 or 2 seconds more of placement time could make all the difference between Third Eye taking home the silver or the bronze.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally going to come down to that final match to be the deciding factor as to who walks away with how much. But I'm liking the fact that Forsaken Gaming and the players there from Gods Reborn are also starting to climb the leaderboard, right? I mean, one good match from either of these teams could see them potentially contesting that 2nd or 3rd place.
Well, guys, only time will tell, and we do not have much time to wait. We're going to be right back at you in just a few short moments with our 3rd and our final match of the day, and our 3rd and our final match of the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship, to be in general, I guess. But guys, just stick around. We're going to be back in just a few short moments with round 3.
Tell me what you wanna do now. Get close to me. Feel the rhythm. Move your body. Tonight. Love me. Love me. Love me. Love me. Love me.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it all comes down to this, the final moments of the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship. We are going to be concluding the day and the event with, you guessed it, another Sandhawk. Now, what do we need to say about Sandhawk, DK? You already know my spiel. It's the smallest map that we're going to be working with. I mean, technically, Livik, Karakin, and now the new map, Nusa, are all smaller, but realistically, this is the smallest one we're working with, meaning that the odds of two teams landing next to each other are going to be a bit higher. But it's not just that, DK. It's also the most condensed map that we have. Well, I mean, when I say condensed, I mean lush in vegetation. There's more natural cover to take, more grass to hide inside, and trees and boulders to hide behind. So you need to be alert for a higher than average number of snakes than usual.
Yeah, and I mean, those snakes can sometimes come and bite you where you don't really want to be bitten. I mean, sure, sometimes a bite is good and healthy, right? But on Sandhawk, you want to try and evade as much as that as you possibly can. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what that first initial zone is going to be bringing on through, right? As you've mentioned, flight path not going to be as essential for these teams' positioning. It's all going to come down to what that zone is going to be allowing them to do and where those rotations could be going, because this is the final showdown. This is the final opportunity to see where the teams are going to be situated with regards to their points.
Yeah, and this is kind of where I really want to see a lot of teams show up, because there's essentially half of the playing board is not being paid out here. Now, if you are on that lower bracket right now and you haven't necessarily made the impression, haven't really left your footprint on this event like you were hoping to, what should be the move here? I would say go out on the all-out aggressive, just bloodbath warfare, just barbarian tactics, shoot everything, put yourself in the hot spot, go for it, because what do you have to lose?
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one, right? You want to see that all-out aggression now just being showcased on Sandhawk. I mean, you got to ask for a more opportune map to do it on, and Sandhawk is going to be the place to be. But it's all going to come down to what the team's mentality is moving into this final showdown, right? The final rumble in the jungle, right? It's all going to be down to whether or not they are going to be looking for that aggression, and if not, you can always just snake it till you make it.
Yeah, and right now is where the Clips by Chicks crew is sitting back, putting their feet up and drinking a couple Mai Tais or something, because realistically, I don't see a foreseeable possibility of any way of them losing this gold medal and taking home that first place prize.
Yeah, I don't think PUBG was designed that way to see a team locking in over 50 points in one single game, right? I don't think that is going to be, I mean, well, okay, wait, maybe backpedal on that a little bit. Based on what we've seen come through from Clips by Chicks, they could maybe do something like that, but I don't think it's going to be a realistic expectation.
Well, no time to wait. We're going to get right into it, and this is exactly what I spoke about when I spoke about Clips by Chicks. Here they are, dropping right into the mix, going down to boot camp as they usually do, leaving that open challenge there for everyone, and looks like someone has taken the bait. Seren coming in to try to take them on.
Yeah, I mean, it might be Seren looking for a little bit of that serenity up in boot camp, right? I mean, it's going to be worth the shot. All you got to lose is probably nothing at this point, just giving it a good effort. And now it's going to be Clips by Chicks having to defend quite relentlessly, as we can see Seren taking possession of that southern edge.
Yeah, I could be, correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong about this, but I do believe that Seren might be in the placing bracket right now, so they actually could have something to lose here by taking this fight on this early. But I like the attitude, I like the confidence, I like the bravery. However, it does look like Judges is already utilizing an M16 and making them bite on their words.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta fake it till you make it, right? I guess it's like you gotta move in like you have nothing to lose. And now he's gonna be next, just trying to hold on a steady position. We got Dimple and Butcher also now still trying to find a bit of an approach to make here. I mean, Seren currently sitting with 33 points to their name, holding on to that 9th position. So it is gonna be an important altercation for them, right? It is gonna be based on what they've their positioning is moving forward, you got to still be fearless. You still got to step up and just play it like you have nothing to lose.
Yeah, you can't fear fears in this situation. And absolutely be a little bit hesitant, be a little bit cautious. I can kind of understand their positioning right here. Holding position and just waiting for that inevitable push from the Clips by Chicks crew. But as we have seen time and time again, this is a team that definitely likes to utilize nades and make it rain hellfire. So it could be a risky move nonetheless.
Yeah, could be super, super risky, but now it's going to be Judges just trying to find that approach on in. Coop's already taking quite a bit of damage here, but is it going to be sufficient as the jump shots come through? It's going to be Judges and Coops goes down as Nyx locks it in. Down they are, full on Sen coming through. Oh, Saren down to potentially 1.
You can take down 3 heads of the beast, but there's that one left standing, and that was Judges, and Judges came in for the clutch. And not only that, but they did not lose a single player in the process. 3 knocks, but not 1 thirst. And now Clips by Chicks is got their first 4 kills on the board. Oh, pardon me. They're almost about to have their first 4 kills. They have 2 on the board at this stage, leaving things riding on Butcher, who is taken down. Now all that remains is Dimple.
Yeah, Dimple trying to make a bit of an impact here. Let's see whether or not Dimple can secure that hit. Oh, finds Scoops. There we go. Not over just yet, but 24K closes the door shut in their face, and that is going to be the end of the road.
Yeah, he doesn't just close it shut in their face, but does so with about 10% of his overall health. So yeah, that is definitely a nail-biter altercation, and it's a little bit of a shame to see, but nonetheless, Clips by Chicks doing what they do best.
Yeah, definitely. They showed up fearless, right? Even though Fears is on the team, I mean, they did an absolutely phenomenal job there, just keeping up the aggression. But now, it's up to the rest of the teams to try and see where they can go. It does seem like Clips by Chicks are firing off a few celebratory hits over in towards Bootcamp. Meanwhile, we've got the players here from Strangers BD held up towards that far eastern side. So curious to see where this rotational pathway is going to be taking them. But I mean, for the time being, Clips by Chicks, they are now uncontested up into Bootcamp.
Yeah, well, this is an interesting zone to see this early on, because we already have literally every team except for 2 of them are already placed inside zone. Now, this is kind of imperative considering that a good portion is occupied by water, but flip the script because this is Sandhawk and there's just so much compound cover and natural cover to choose from. So a late rotation at this stage in the game can be pretty understandable, but as we noted yesterday, a very late rotation in one of the ending zones on Sandhawk could be one's undoing.
Yes, sir. But another thing that I'm going to be looking at is Nucleotide and Based on Bullet held up towards that northern side. Already we see a knock coming through there onto one of the players from Based on Bullet. But I mean, we're not seeing an overly aggressive send coming through from Nucleotide Vendetta just yet. There we have the confirmation though. It is going to be Kabir securing that head. But now let's see what Nucleotide are going to be doing, right? Are they going to be looking to shape it up and maybe just get a full aggressive send onto Based on Bullet?
Yeah, Based on Bullet made a fairly risky decision yet again this game in occupying that bridge area, trying to utilize what little bit of a pathway that they would expect their opponents to come down. Unfortunately for them, it definitely places them in a sandwich situation in between Dauntless and Nucleotide, and that is not a very ideal position to be in when you are already brought down to a 2-piece of Terminate and Mandip.
Yeah, well, you got to dip out of the blue as well, right? And of course, we are going to be jumping straight over back to the players here from Nucleotide. Meanwhile, it does seem like Based on Bullet are going to be trying their luck towards the western side, now heading in the direction of the players there from Dauntless, but up in towards the Ruins, which is also now very, very close to center zone. It's going to be Third Eye and Dark Esports getting into a bit of an altercation there, as we can see already Amrit getting taken on down, but the rest of the team still being quite some distance away.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a space away from what you were just talking about, but I have to note this. I think that the zone has literally favored Clips by Chicks every single game in the entire 6 matches that we have played. I mean, yes, that is just astronomically lucky. And unfortunately for the participants, you know, that's the last team that you want to see get lucky with zone that often. But nonetheless, as we said, you know, it is what it is. PUBG does not pick preferences. It does not play fair sometimes. And here we have it. Clips by Chicks, still a healthy 4-piece. And now we're getting eyes on the Nuclear Tie crew. And absolutely, they've got a considerable way to work their way into zone. And we don't know for sure what the advantage will be of a late rotation into zone. It might be the ticket, but at the same time, it is a risky move here. As they work their way in southbound, at this point, they could be met head-on by Clips by Chicks or Care Bears.
Yeah, but they still have a bit of an opportunity towards boot camp, right? I mean, they could have used that hard cover to maybe just secure a decent angle. It could be quite a bit of a surprise, especially seeing that Clips by Chicks are focusing a lot more of their attention towards that southern edge. But let's see where these rotations are going to be going. In the meanwhile, we do have the plays here from Gods Reborn now having a big majority of that southern position free to rotate up wherever they choose to go.
You're right. You got Reborn holding position, trying to get an elevated overwatch, all the while their opponents in Dark Esports, not too far off, could potentially catch a line of sight. I'm also getting eyes on the Road to Death crew as they work their way into zone. They might be met with the immediate threat of Puppeteer.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's going to be quite a few threats still to come on through. I mean, the hit list also going to be heading in from that eastern side as well. So who knows what is going to be happening towards that bridgeway. But looking back towards the northern side, right, this is where we do have a bit of that potential play now coming through. Dark Esports finding a bit of an angle. Not going to be full sending it, but I'm loving the fact that Guru is still just trying to expand their options.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that Dark Esports up against one-shot Dark, and Dark not quite able to knock Dark in that case. However, that 4x M4 shots did have some connecting damage, just not quite enough, and he's able to position himself behind the compound. However, his teammate Neo could be in a line of trouble here as he is caught by the Third Eye crew. SUK going right after him with a Tommy gun, and does secure the knock and a quick thirst to follow.
Yeah, at this point, I'll be quite wary of Sook, right? We did see that had a beautiful performance coming through from Sook over on towards Murmur. So, you know, we know Sook has that ability to just step up and bring in a bit of a surprising performance. But now, things not looking too easy here for Dark. We do have the teams in the vicinity slowly encroaching on their position. And of course, speaking about encroaching, is going to be Clips by Chicks now taking a bit of a push on towards this bridge alongside the players here from Forsaken Gaming.
Yeah, it seems to be the strategy that Based on Bullet was trying to exercise earlier. However, they have the full team to really do it. But as you can see, Black from Forsaken Gaming just going away with that 3x M4, and he does get the knock on Judges. Can he get the knock on Fierce? Taking them down to half health. It's not quite enough, and Fierce gets the cover behind the hill.
Oh, such a tough position to play, but Black is going to definitely try and bring anything they can to this altercation. Of course, now Noob getting spotted out in the open. Forsaken Gaming. Oh, there we go. Hitting it in as Scrims finds that hit. This is where things could really start to crumble now for Dark Esports.
Yeah, and also, as you can note here, Judges is able to get himself back up to that position, bringing him back up to that full 4-piece, and I do think that is going to mean Clips by Chicks might be pulling a rotation closer towards the ruins area momentarily. All the while, Pain with that Overwatch position, just trying to not allow them that rotation, just holding position with that M4 ready and waiting for a single sliver of his opponent.
Oh, but up comes Road to Death, sending the players from Dark Esports backing, sealing the opportunity away from Forsaken Gaming, but this is kind of to be expected. Just looking at the sheer number of teams we still have surviving the zone, but now Forsaken Gaming focusing their efforts a little bit more towards that center zone. As you've said before, center zone not always the most opportune position to get yourself situated in.
Yeah, not always. However, given this particular zone, a ruin-centered zone, I do think that a nice early positioning could be advantageous to the participants because it does allow for that compound cover. And also, ruins affords a lot of different angles of Overwatch. Maybe not Overwatch from a height, but Overwatch in the sense that you can get a fairly good look around all corners of you while maintaining that compound cover that you need.
Yeah, and as we know, right, information is absolutely essential But now, look at 24K, looking to lock in a little bit more of that information, doing their due diligence. We've got one of the Care Bears, I almost said Gummy Bears, off in just a little bit further up ahead. But it does seem like they are just scouting out the situation, while we still have Daryl and Jareed trying to maybe get themselves a little bit closer. But, I mean, this is going to be a pretty tough send now. Clips by Chicks looking to move up quite aggressively.
Yeah, and you know what I'm noticing, brother? It looks to me, oh, I could be choking on my words, but I was noticing Nucleotide, Strangers BD, and the hit list all hanging back in that dead zone, trying to utilize that infamous heal strat where teams will just hang back with an absurd number of first aids and meds and just heal away as the numbers deplete on the playing field. However, they are dealing with a boosted zone damage and quickly learning that might not be the ticket this round, trying to get that late rotation into zone, and I think it might spell trouble for Strangers and for Nucleotide as they face the imminent threat of Skills of Mine and Based on Bullet.
Yeah, it's definitely quite an interesting approach that they are taking there. And I mean, speaking about interesting, right? I'm quite surprised to see Care Bears kind of just holding that 2-1 split, right? I mean, Jareed and Daryl not going to be moving any closer to support their teammate, at least not at this current time. I mean, and you know that Care Bears have spotted the movement coming through from the players there of Clips by Chick. So it's very surprising to see them kind of holding off on that. They could have potentially been waiting for the zone to be decided. And speaking about that, we of course have a little bit of action now happening on this northern edge as the players here from Nucleotide and Strangers BD get into a bit of an altercation.
Yeah, and realistically, this is an opportunity for the crew and Based on Bullet. Let them deal out the damage and then come in for a nice, healthy third party and just steal those knocks. Honestly, all they really have to do is sit back and wait while Strangers focuses on a Nucleotide and they just go after one another.
Oh, it's going to be quite scary. But now look at Volt. Just perched on the rock. Great line of sight that they could potentially have on down towards the Based on Bullet team. But it's all going to come down to whether or not they can actually line up those angles. Terminate are going to be looking to maybe terminate that approach as they come rushing a little bit closer towards the zone. We do have Kabir up ahead, but the rest of the Care Bears are going to be lying in wait. And this could be that opportunity for the Care Bears now to secure even more eliminations.
Yeah, that could be 1 bob down or 2 bobs down. Only time will tell. However, Kabir of Nucleotide, as we note, is knocked already. Terminate not even really focused on trying to get that thirsting line of sight. He is going to go smooth on Michael Phelps, try to swim his way across the river. All the while, I believe I saw a couple bullets being fired at him. We see the crew in Skills of Mine, Bomba just trying to reunite with his teammate out in the dead zone, and it looks like they're making a split-second decision here, trying to choose between working their way into zone and hanging back on the edge in this blue while these numbers dwindle.
Yeah, but definitely you can't afford to do too much of that. You need to try and get ahead, and it's going to be Ox now, just taking a quick dash across the bridge. Also players there from third eye positioned up ahead, but Ox not in safety just yet. Still has a little bit further to go. Maybe waiting to see whether or not Bomba is going to be able to survive that blue zone and maybe just join them back into safety. But look at the Care Bears still playing that spread, and now it's going to be that opportunity for them to regroup back onto their teammate, allowing them opportunity now down onto Based on Bullets.
Yeah, well, Care Bears getting a little bit of luck in the wind here. As they do work that late rotation into zone, they are met with fewer obstacles than one would expect. They really only have the Based on Bullet crew immediate threat to them. However, we have something else on our hands. Puppeteer up against the likes of Clips Before Chicks. We see Puppeteer already able... I'm not sure actually if Puppeteer is the one who got 24K out of there, but Clips by Chicks is down to a 3-piece. Unfortunately for basically every participant, as we have seen, them as a 3-piece is still an absolutely formidable winning team, as they shown in round 1 of their semifinals.
Yeah, but the Puppeteer is not trying to pull a few strings, right? We have to wait and see just how that is going to turn out for them and whether or not there could be any success on the horizon. But speaking about that, I mean, the hit list also now going to be trying to get themselves ever closer to that zone into a heavily congested southern edge. So you want to talk about some pretty tough odds. That is exactly what the hit lists are going to be having, right? They're being served on a platter to them.
Yeah, I'd say the hit list and Puppeteer are in for a world of hurt as they try to secure a northbound rotation late into zone. Unfortunately, they're not the only ones with that idea. You got Road to Death, you got Clips Before Chicks all awaiting that inevitable push, and Clips Before Chicks already utilizing advantage.
Well, there we go. It's going to be the first play now from Bob. Well, another player rather from based on Bullet rather getting taken down. It is Mandep getting confirmed on through as the blue zone seals their fate. Terminate now going to be trying to hold on to the very edge. The Care Bears not going to be caring too much about that. Instead, focusing the efforts of getting themselves resituated back in towards the zone. God's Reborn now laying it down as they find the road to death up ahead. The first one goes down. It all now comes down to Jason. Let's see whether or not Jason can hold on to this full-on aggression.
Well, they've got Prince in their back pocket, hanging out in the dead zone, utilizing that heal strat. So they're not putting all their eggs in the basket, but yes, this does illuminate that the trade-off that they're making. Essentially, Jason did not have the assisting cover or assisting teammate in that situation, and yeah, that is the disadvantage in a position like this. Flip the script, they're not eliminated yet. They still have one hope up.
Yeah, they definitely do. But speaking about hope, right, it all could be lost now as the zone has taken a shift towards the north. Care Bears have that controlling position, right? They are the only two players currently situated, or three players rather, situated within that zone. But Forsaken having to do quite a bit of work, spots a bit of a potential angle on towards the Clips by Chicks team. But now, based on Bullets, get sent on their merry way down to our final 8 teams. We go 18 players still remaining, and Pain just keeping their ears open as we can see the players there from God's Reborn taking a bit of a mad dash towards the zone.
Yeah, and here illuminate that decision about when to rotate into zone. Forsaken Gaming holding back a little bit, and as you can see from Gods Reborn working their way into rotation, trying to get into zone, they were met with an immediate threat, and Forsaken Gaming avoided that obstacle just by waiting.
Well, you know, sometimes waiting is your best option, and now it's going to be Coops waiting for those angles to line up. As we can see the players there from Forsaken Gaming also now just on the very edge of that zone, not secured with a good angle just yet, but it's going to be Black. Oh, stepping out and getting met with a full aggressive hit in the face.
Yeah, I think we have shown time and time again why you do not want to make that little sliver of a peek on Pittsburgh Knights' very own Coops. And not only that, let's just go off for his all-star teammates here. We got Fears firing away with a bolty. We don't often see a lot of bolt actions in Sandhawk, but when you do, boy, you got to make them count. And Fears does not disappoint.
Yeah, the bolty does bring quite a bit of action with it, but now the zone moves in favor of the Clips by Chicks, and this is where the Care Bears are having to do quite a bit of work. I mean, we haven't seen the most aggressive push coming through from Daryl and Jareed in this game, but who knows, they could still surprise. We can see Daryl sitting on half of the eliminations already locked in for the team. It does seem like Clips by Chicks are just looking to absolutely obliterate and dominate this current zone.
Yeah, and not only that, but we have only 10 people remaining, but that is spread across 7 teams, which tells me one thing, DK. There's a lot of solos on the board, and now looking at the list, yeah, Clips by Chicks, the only 3-piece, and then there's only one 2-piece. That's the Care Bears. Everyone else is literally a solo at this point.
Yeah, and of course they're all out in that blue zone with the heal strat.
There it is. There it is. There's that heal strat we were hoping to see. Jareed just healing away, letting those numbers dwindle as best as possible, but now quickly realizing that this boosted zone damage is not going to afford him much of that luxury. Fears firing away, and down goes Daryl. I don't believe it was by Fears. It could have been by the zone, I think. And unfortunately for them, the zone is also the enemy of Clips by Chicks, getting the finish on Coops.
Yeah, the zone is going to be the worst fear for everybody because all 6 of our teams are down to solos. It is going to be Clips by Chicks sitting, however, on 12 eliminations to their name. Bay now just going to try and ride it out as best they can, looking to potentially patch up that health bar, but we don't see any meds there. So the health for Pain is pretty much what they've got, and this could be a great golden opportunity for Fears to just pop up, lock in that potential spray, and that is going to be the end for Forsaken Gaming.
Well, Pain doing what he can, utilizing that sneaky snake tactic, but that snake in the grass was caught, and just that one shot echoing in the distance. Fears just getting him right out of the equation. Now look here, guys, heal strat in full effect as Assad just goes first aid after first aid after first aid, but look at that damage. And I say it time and time again, guys, I don't care what tier you're playing at in this game, nobody, and I mean nobody, has a higher KD than that blue zone.
Yeah, blue zone is the ultimate beast, right? But I mean, even looking at Fears, having control of that zone doesn't mean that they've got the chicken just yet. Any of these players in the vicinity could still potentially reach in pop off. Only one hit, and that could be all that's required to take down Fears, but that's not going to be what's happening as Fears secures that winner chicken dinner for the Clips by Chicks, but just outlasting the opposition and, of course, securing themselves a very comfortable 13 eliminations alongside that.
I just think it's a little bit hilarious how even the final zone of the last match is just orienting itself around Fears. Clips by Chicks, absolutely ridiculously phenomenal performance throughout this event, not just in terms of aggression, but in terms of placement as well. But on top of that, add the luck factor of getting zone in your favor almost every match. Yeah, this was definitely doomed for pretty much everyone else on the playing field, even as we entered today. But them just adding that insult to injury, getting the dub in the very last match, it's definitely sending a message.
Yeah, what was also quite interesting to look at is that their team color was also blue, right? So either the blue zone gets you or they get you. So either which way, you're going to fall to the blue.
Yep. Well, also prop speed, where props are deserved. Care Bears acquiring the second place with 5 kills. That's nothing to wag your finger at. And on top of that, we got the Gods Reborn crew grabbing 3rd place with 5, Hit List in 4th with 4, and Forsaken Gaming in 5th with 4 as well. And I'm seeing a lot of the same teams kind of up towards that top bracket, still maintaining that top bracket finish. We'll have to see what it's going to mean for Care Bears, as they were knocked down a couple notches last match from that performance on Miramar, being brought down to 4th place. We'll see if they were able to bring themselves back up to 3rd or 2nd.
Yeah, I think it was a good effort being brought through there by them. And of course, our MVP for our very last match is none other than the man themselves, right? It is going to be the Knights groups securing that beautiful spot there. 990 damage being dealt alongside the 6 eliminations. So no surprise to see that really happening.
Yeah, Coops literally putting up almost half of the team's kills. Just an absolute heavyweight, as we've seen time and time again, but playing on a team of all-stars, absolute first-round picks in this situation. Yeah, this was a kind of a breeze for them in this last match, because none of the pressure was really on them. They knew that they had this win in the bag, so this match was all about fun, and boy did they have it, playing pretty darn aggressively with 13 kills and 2,100 damage, 13 assists on top of that.
Yeah, I think they had fun by the bucket loads, right? I mean, a great performance coming in here. 2,100 damage. Oh, it just looks so phenomenal. It's not often that we see the same number when we look at the eliminations and the assists being brought through.
Yeah, this just tells me one thing and one thing only, is these boys were out looking for blood, and boy, they found it time and time again. A lot of teams kind of left in the aftermath of Clips by Chicks, and case in point, ladies and gentlemen, look at this damage distribution. Clips by Chicks exceeding the 2,000 point marker, where everyone else lies comfortably below the 1,000 point marker. They more than double everyone else's damage. They almost triple it.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive to look at. But I mean, we also got to look at like the Care Bears conversion rate there, right? Locking in those 5 eliminations, 600 damage. So really healthy ratio being shown there. I mean, the Skills of Mind also doing a really phenomenal job. I mean, it looks a little bit out of place, right? Comparing them to the stats that we see coming through there for Clips by Chicks. But if we kind of hide that one just for a brief moment, the rest of the team's still putting up some decent numbers here.
Yeah, and it tells me a couple things. Not just that they have great conversions rates, but that a lot was riding on this match for them. That means that they were very hungry for those thirsts. I know that's kind of an oxymoron to say. Hungry for those thirsts makes not a lot of sense, but you guys get what I mean. They were out trying to acquire the thirst on every single knock that they could, because every kill counted in the very last match of the event.
Yeah, I mean, it counts all the way to the very finish. So I do suspect that we could see a little bit of a change up once we get over into our overall rankings. I mean, based on the performances that we've had now, Kev is securing that 2nd place with 5 eliminations. I mean, that could fall in the ballpark of about 17 points. So I'm not quite sure if that's going to be enough for them to regain that position, but we'll have to wait and see.
It was interesting. It showed Care Bear surviving 2 seconds longer than Clips, but I don't agree with that quite so much. But let's have the overall ranking. Ladies and gentlemen, here are our winners. Without any surprise to our viewers, Clips by Chicks dominating the playing field and does secure that gold medal with 137 total points. Count them up, 77 kills, more than 3 times second place. Second place, the silver medal is going to go to the Care Bears. Talking about coming in clutch in the last round. They had a very rough round 2, but able to come back guns a-blazing and work their way right on back up to silver as they acquire second place with 64 total damage. Third place was ironically held onto by Third Eye. They're going to take home that bronze and that third place prize pool with 58 points, and this is where things get to be a little bit tough for the participants. Strangers BD definitely kicking their feet right now as they trail only 1 point behind third place, and we saw that third place to fourth place payout distribution. It's quite a significant difference, so yeah, it's going to be a heavy hit to them. Gods Reborn putting up a pretty impressive performance as well, and as you can see, the point distribution gets fairly closer and closer as we work our way on down the bracket.
But what I gotta point out though is just how impressive Gods Reborn were today, right? They started off the day in 12th position. That's where they started. Now they finish all the way up in 5th place, right? So taking themselves from a position where there was nothing coming their way, working their butts off in this final day in these last 3 matches to secure themselves that 5th place finish. So, you know, big ups going out to Gods Reborn. I mean, that was a really, really good performance coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Very impressive performance on Gods Reborn, and we love to see that. We love to see teams not giving up hope come the last day or the last match, because as we said, guys, this is where it's really time to prove yourself, not necessarily for the sake of a prize pool per se. There are a lot of prize pool payouts, but even just for sending that message, even if you know that you're not going to get in that payout range, coming in on the all-out aggressive on the last match just makes quite a bit of sense to me. Just sending that message to everyone else, yeah, we still belong to be here.
Yeah, and of course, another team that we also saw bring in quite a bit of an upset was Strangers BD, right? They started off the day in 13th place, right? They jumped all the way up in towards that 4th place. So 2 teams really just locking in their performances. We did see Strangers and Pubg, of course, in that very first match bring in an absolutely phenomenal start, but the consistency was there for Strangers and, of course, as I've mentioned, for the players from Gods Reborn. So you gotta love the potential that these teams are showing, right? Regardless of where they started off the day, they can still fight their way back into contention.
Yeah, it's great to see Forsaken Gaming kind of making this slow rise to fame. They are pretty renowned tier 2, or they were a pretty renowned tier 2 team in the previous years, participating in a lot of events in the NA community. And it's just amazing to see them build up that synergy and become more and more refined and more experienced and more talented at this point. And so, yeah, great effort to them. There was some serious outliers in this event. We acknowledge that 100%. There were some serious outliers, and as casters, that can be a nightmare sometimes. So I am super thankful for the prize pool distribution, the way they actually structured this event, keeping it very competitive between that 2nd and 7th place bracket, 6th place bracket maybe.
Yeah, all the way from 1st down to, I believe that's 7th place. Either which way, the teams are going to be happy with that extra little bit of bank that they're getting, right? And also, we're getting closer to the end of the year, right? Christmas is around the corner. I mean, we're in Halloween now, so that only means that Christmas and all the other lovely things are pretty soon to come. So, you know, if you can secure a little bit of extra cash, you know, why not?
Yeah, and guys, please do be sure to follow the PUBG Mobile Esports NA YouTube page, because they got a lot more events coming forward and a lot more competition being offered to you guys, a lot more events and possibilities for you guys to enter. So please be sure to join the Discord server and as well follow the YouTube. Just become a part of it and become a part of the community as it is.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing even more people, you know, stepping up. We want to see some names that we haven't seen just yet, right? We had a great opportunity this time around coming through in the Campus Championship, right? We had a few teams that we've actually not seen in the previous seasons showing up into making it all the way in towards those semifinals, then pushing up in towards the grand finals itself. So, you know, it's open, right? Step in, Get your butts into the entries, and I'd love to see even more teams, you know, just shaking things up out on the battlefield.
Yeah, guys, DK and I would absolutely love to cast and spectate your team in one of these events as well. So please be sure to participate and join the servers. Well, guys, on that note, this has been an absolute honor and pleasure getting to cast the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship with you. I'm not just stoked to have gotten to cast it, but I'm stoked to have gotten to cast alongside the likes of DK. With that being said, y'all, it's been an honor and pleasure. I'm Red Eyes. This is DK.
I'm DK.
We're out of here. We're out of here. This is the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship. Have a good one.